You're looking at your bank account as a business owner and thinking, do you have to pay an employee for training? By the end of this video, you're going to have a clear path to powerful training that's not going to drain your bank account. Hey, have you been going out on the internet or on the market and trying to get some freemium training for your team and it's just not working at this point? You want to build a powerful culture with competent employees, but you don't want to have to go out of the market and drop a bag and pay $15K a month for the jet-setting training guru. There's one principle I think would be super helpful for all of us to just get out on the table and understand. You will pay for training one way or the other. You either pay for it up front and ongoing, and you will draw the benefits and the result from that and a return on your investment. In fact, I've got a powerful video, if you go to the link below, on how to find a return on investment for your training. But you could also not make the investment and go long term, and you're going to pay for it down the road with employee turnover, with mistakes, with callbacks, and all of those things. Just so you know, an employee that makes somewhere around $40,000 to $60,000 to $70,000, when they leave your business for any reason, it's going to cost your business somewhere in the neighborhood of about $10,000 to $25,000 for every employee that leaves. If you have an employee that's over six-figure, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, then their turnover cost is equivalent to whatever their salary is each time they leave. So that's why I say you're going to pay for training or a lack of training one way or the other. So let's lay down the investment and the return on that investment that you need to be looking at so that you can see how much you need to pay for employee training. So when you think about the cost of training, I want you to think of it in three ways. You're going to pay for it in a few ways. Time, you'll pay for training in time. You'll pay for training in attention. It's another version of payment that you might pay an employee for their training. The third way is the classic way, and that's money. You might pay an outsource or bring somebody in or whatever. So time, attention, and money are the three methodologies for that you're going to pay. You're going to pay the employees time during their training, so that's time actually spent training. So they're getting paid for that, obviously, so they're making money that way. But then also the attention. Well, that's your time or whoever's actually giving the training. So it's costing the employee for their time, it's costing you for your time. But then there's also money, materials, resources, bringing a third-party resource, which can be helpful to bring in. But each one of those three ways, your time, your attention, and your money, are three different ways that you will inevitably pay for employee training. So a lot of business owners, they'll come and they go, hey, how do I do free training for my team? Well, there is no such thing. And I would argue that you get what you pay for. A dear friend of mine and mentor who has since passed named Dan Miller used to tell me this all the time. He said, Scott, if they're not paying attention. And so the reality is, I want you to pay for training. I want you to have skin in the game. I want you to feel it, and I want you to pay with your time, your attention, and your money. I want to give you 4 tools that I think will help you to be able to insource your training so you can limit the amount of money you're spending outside and draw all the benefit and the value that you're spending internally. In fact, I've got another video, if you click on the link below, that'll actually walk through how to build a training and development program for your team, step by step. I want to give you a few of those tools that I think will be helpful though. Number 1 is your onboarding. How you onboard a team member, and particularly a 4-week onboarding script. It's week 1, day 1, week 1, day 2, week 1, day 3. And yes, I'm serious about that. What are all the tasks and the elements that you want to make sure that new employee gets day 1, day 2, day 3? So by the end of the 4 weeks, they're up on plane. Think about the boat. When it comes up, a motorboat gets up on plane, and it's much easier to ride across the water at that point. That's what you want for your employee by week number 5, and that starts with a healthy onboarding program. The second tool to insource your training is what we call the MPR, or the Master Process Roadmap. Now, every business, including yours, is built on 4 foundational cornerstones: purpose, people, process, and profit. So think of those as verticals: purpose, people, process, and profit. And within the process vertical, we have something called the Master Process Roadmap. And in that process vertical, every business has 4 core systems that are built. In fact, when you think about the systems, think like an automobile. In a car, you've got a braking system, you've got a powertrain system, you've got an electrical system, or the human body. You've got a skeletal system, a cardiovascular system. And think about how easy it is for a physician to be able to diagnose what's going on in the body. If I come in and go, ow, well, all of a sudden that doctor can rule out so many disease states just because I said ow and I grabbed my elbow. And so they isolated that maybe down to the skeletal system or maybe the nervous system that they're looking at, and so they can really drill in. Well, the same happens in your business. We want to be able to isolate both training and also problems down to a system in the business. So we break it down into marketing, sales, operations, and administration. So in that MPR, Master Process Roadmap, why do we call it that? It's your entire business on one sheet of paper. So if you've got those 4 verticals that I told you about, marketing, sales, ops, admin, then underneath you can start to do a brain dump of every process that exists within each vertical. So in your marketing process, you have the website update process, you have the SEO process, you have all of these, and there's 10s, 20s, hundreds in each one, but you can't get them all unless you start with the first one. So let's just do a brain dump. In fact, a good exercise, set your timer for 5 minutes, get a scratch sheet of paper, turn over the page, and start to write down marketing, sales, operations, administration, and then just do a brain dump. You go over to administration and say accounts receivable, accounts payable, invoicing, all of these different little processes that exist within your business that are super powerful. So if you've got that, now all of a sudden we've got that training outline. And you can insource your training so it brings down your monetary cost for training, but it increases your time and attention costs. But I would rather increase your time and attention costs as long as it's the training coming from in the business, because that's the best training. It's the most relevant to what they're going to be able to see. I could send somebody to go out and teach my people how to mow grass or whatever, but you know what? I'd rather show them how we mow grass as a business. So you've started with a new employee, got them kicked off with that 4-week script. They now have all the processes that are in their purview as their job role with the Master Process Roadmap. But how do we get that trained over a period of time? Well, in order to set them up for success, we can build what we call the anchor. Now, this is in our purpose vertical. So vision, mission, values, and then the anchor, or what we used to call the culture calendar. And all it is it takes all the elements that we want to train and embed in the culture on the left-hand side. It takes the weeks of the year across the top, and then we just put in there that thing that we want to train on repetitively, predictably, and meaningfully over time. Now remember, all of this is in an effort to insource. I actually want you to spend your time and attention on training. If we need to spend your money, then we will. But most people think that you just go spend money. You outsource it, you hire an outfit to come in. Hey, will you do a 1-day, a 2-day, a 5-day workshop on us? It leaves us super motivated, high on sugar, and then within a week we crash and we don't do anything with it. So instead, we're going to insource our training. We're going to kick them off with onboarding. We're going to get all of our processes mapped out, Master Process Roadmap. We're going to spread those processes out across 52 weeks so that we can train them repetitively, predictably, and meaningfully. But when do we talk about them? So that's another tool I want to give you. It's the once weekly, agenda-driven, leader-led team meeting. Super simple. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, oh, death by meeting, do we have to have another one? No, I don't know that you have to have another one. I just want you to have a good one, because most of your meetings stink. That's why people don't want to go to them. So instead of all this other stuff that you got, I want you to have a once weekly, agenda-driven, leader-led team meeting that is 1 hour and not a minute more. Well, that's going to take longer than 1 hour. No, it won't. Not if you cut it off. And next week, you'll have to do better next time. And so if we start to build that boundary, now I want you to listen to what I've been walking you through. The onboarding, 4-week script for new employees, Master Process Roadmap, all your processes documented out in those 4 core systems, the anchor so that we drip that training out over the course of the year, and a once weekly agenda-driven team meeting so that we have accountability and repetition on how to talk about that. What have we just created? Boundaries. Wait, I don't like boundaries. Yes, but boundaries bring freedom. Ooh, that's a good one. You might want to go write that one down. Boundaries bring freedom. I want you to think about LeBron James. LeBron James, without the boundary of a basketball court, is nothing more than a big athletic guy. But all of a sudden, we drew a white line. And it was sort of a subjective white line a couple of 100 years ago. We drew up a white line, put this guy within the white line and said, LeBron James, you can do whatever you want within that white line and the rules of what fit within that white line. And lo and behold, he became one of the best basketball players the world has ever seen. Why? Is because he had boundaries. He practiced the boundaries with repetition, predictability, and meaning. And within those boundaries, he soared. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to set healthy boundaries because the boundaries bring freedom. Remember I told you you're going to pay for training one way or the other? You're going to pay with your time, your attention, your money. We actually want you paying with your time and your attention, because if it's your time and your attention, or your team's time and their attention, that's going to be most closely aligned with the processes that your business actually need to thrive. So it's not just how we do a thing, it's how we do a thing. So as a story to illustrate how you're going to pay for this one way or the other, it's my favorite story to tell around this thing. It's a small little hot dog shop out of eastern Tennessee and western Virginia. It's named Powell's Sudden Service. You can look it up. You're going to think I'm joking when you see this picture and what their buildings look like. It literally looks like a hee-haw shop from a Chevy Chase movie when you look at it. And the reality is, it is an amazing story, and Powell's Sudden Service was written up in the Harvard Business Review because they won the 2001 Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award. That is an award FedEx wins and Ritz-Carlton wins And Pal's Sudden Service, a hamburger shop, won it. Why? It's because the amount of time, attention, and money they place into training teenagers and part-timers is extraordinary. And I'll spare you the whole story right now, but if you go read the article, at the end of it, Tom Crosby, the CEO, is asked this question: what happens if you spend all this time and money and these employees leave, because most of them are going to? And his response was a dead stare, and he said, what if we don't and they stay? The last thing you want is long-term employees who you don't like or that your clients don't like. What you want are long-term engaged employees who were onboarded appropriately. They understand the process that they need to go through. They've got training over 52 weeks that's repetitive, predictable, and meaningful. And in those team meetings, they're asked around accountability and implementation. With that, you have built a culture where you are inviting people to want to come do hard things. Now, to mitigate all of this, the easiest way to do it is start when they're young. So when you get that new employee, I want you to go to this great training that I provided for you. Click the link below, and it's how to build a new employee training program so that you can onboard them successfully. My name's Scott Beebe. It's always my pleasure to be able to spend time with owners, business owners, between 3 and 100 employees to help them build their purpose, people, process, and profit so that you, the business owner, can be liberated from chaos to make time for what matters most.